Hello, everybody. Gbenga Olatunji here. So today, we'll be looking at practice management. Practice management. So we'll be talking about what practice is and the management of practice. We'll be looking at controls in a practice and also areas in which control must exist and must be applied in the practice, among many other things. So what is practice? Practice, practice, practice. We've been hearing about practice. What can we say practice is? Practice actually is the actualization or bringing to reality an idea. So practice is not about theory. Practice about demonstration of what we know. Let me give us an example. A musician will say, I'm practicing, or I want to go to practice. And when they say that, they mean they want to rehearse a song. So, and rehearsal is practical demonstration of an idea in a musician's mind. And soon everybody begins to sing the song because that person is in practice. Music practice, precisely. So any idea that we have can actually be practiced. And when we practice, it means that we are demonstrating at least an idea and we are bringing it into reality. So it's no longer a matter of theory. It's a matter of practicality. That is practice. So many professions can be practiced, if not all. All professions actually could be practiced, or any idea could be brought to reality, and that is practice. So likewise, we that are accountants, when we practically demonstrate the accounting knowledge, the theories, the concepts, the principles, and the like, and we are using it on daily basis to resolve issues and problems in the society, we say we are in accounting practice. So actually today's lecture borders on accounting practice. Just like we could have practice on medicine and we call them doctors. So when we have somebody that goes to school and study medicine and begin to use the theory learned in resolving human issues, we say that person is in practice, is practicing doctor or is practicing medicine. So we could equally have a practicing lawyer, just like we have practicing accountants. So that is what practice actually means. Demonstration of what we know to resolve issues in the society or solve problem. That is practice. So when we are now talking about practice management, simply we are talking about how to ensure what we know, what we've learned, how to bring it to reality, and how to control it, how to ensure that it goes out to target markets and we achieve results using it. And of course, we use it in a way that is profitable to the practitioner. So that is management side of a practice or any practice. So practice management entails the totality of bringing idea to fore and using it to solve human and society issues and at the same time ensuring that it is profitable. It's run like a business. So practice management is a business side of accounting knowledge. So now, the business of the day. Why do we practice? So we can answer that question by saying we practice to ensure we use our idea to affect the life of others positively, of course. Now practice as the side of control, that is the management side of it, and especially the accounting practice is a regulated, highly regulated industry. And why is accounting practice regulated? The foremost reason of regulation and control in accounting practice is because accountants are custodians of public interest or public goods. And because of this, we need to set standard for ourselves to ensure that there is compliance and there is conformity in the industry. Okay, so the need for practice management and control in practice is as a result of ensuring that our opinion actually is expressed correctly. That is, we need to put controls or standard in place in our operations to ensure that at the end of the day, the opinion that we are engaged to express is not expressed wrongly. So the need arises for the control in practice management purposefully to ensure there is little or no incorrect expression of opinion in our service delivery. And if an opinion is wrongly issued out, the repercussion is this: there is going to be liability, which could border on civil liability or criminal liability as a result of negligence on the part of the practitioner. So to avoid this, we need to adhere to some regulations which we call controls. Due to the fact that different members of audit firm with varying level of knowledge and competence will carry out audit assignments, so many people are going on the field and they need to be well guided. And in guiding them, there must be some form of written down rules like audit program, audit planning memorandum, and the like to guide them in carrying out that particular assignment and necessary things that they need to know concerning that client or work that they are engaged on. The consequence of poor audit work and legal action generally to the profession, and it could be individual as to accounting firm and the person engaged to carry out that particular assignment. So if liability arises or we are sued, there is going to be legal damage. And of course, we are going to hire lawyers to help in the courts. So we are going to have legal costs, legal damages. Of course, the client is not satisfied. And because client is not satisfied, we may at the end of the day lose that client. So client may be lost, which is not too good for the practice. Also, they said bad news spread like wildfire. So there is going to be bad publicity for the profession and for the accounting firm also. So those are consequences. And on the part of the audit firm too, the mother body for Nigeria, ICAN, is going to clamp down on such an organization with disciplinary actions and the like, which can go as far as the managing partner or partners being suspended and even the practicing license being withdrawn. So because of all this, controls must necessarily be in place. It is also important for the audit profession as a whole that all audit firms should have good procedures for quality controls. So we are soon going to know the areas of the quality controls and how to put them in place, who is responsible for all these controls implementation. If the profession as a whole gained a reputation for poor quality audit, its public image will be damaged. Like I said before, bad news spread very quickly, which is going to damage the reputation of the accounting profession. So for this to be addressed and controlled, we may not eventually be able to resolve that, but at least to a greater extent, if every accounting firm and every practitioner work as per standard, there will be minimal incorrect expression of opinion. Quality control procedures. So the quality control procedures in any accounting firm or in practice management can be divided into two. It can be divided into two, and on the level of the audit firm is the first, and the second level is on the engagement level. So quality control in an accounting practice can be divided into two levels of quality control. The level of the firm as an organization, and at the level of engagement, that is the business level, client basis level. So let us look at the control arrangement for individual engagement now. That is on the level of individual assignment. I read from our notes. The objective of the auditor as set out by ISA 220. ISA simply means International Standard on Auditing. Quality control for an audit of financial statements is to implement quality control procedures at the engagement level to provide reasonable assurance that audit complies with professional standard and applicable legal and regulatory authority or rules. So that is one of the purpose of setting up controls or quality control in an accounting firm, as it borders on the engagement level, to ensure professional standards are adhered to. Also, the audit report issue is appropriate. Don't forget, the audit report is why we are actually engaged to express our independent opinion. So to ensure that our opinion is not expressed wrongly, we must adhere as a people, practitioner, to quality procedures that the standard has been given to us. So we can ask ourselves now as the next level question. So who is responsible for the level of engagement and ensuring quality control on the level of engagement? the nomenclature of that person is the engagement partner. And please note that there is difference between an engagement partner and the managing partner. The managing partner is like the MD of a company, while the engagement partner is like the member of the board. So in an accounting practice, we have the person that is in charge of directly in charge of the governance of the firm as an organization. And we have partners ably assisting him or her at the level of individual engagement, that is individual accounting assignment for our clients. So now we are talking on the level of assignment, controls at the level of assignment or engagement. And I'm specifically stating that it is the duty of the engagement partner, and he or she is responsible for or ensuring the delivery complies with the procedure set, standards set, guidelines set for the engagement level procedure and quality assurance. The engagement partner has responsibility for overall quality of the audit and is required to put procedures in place to ensure some of the following and many more that I may not mention, but they are in our notes. Ethical standards are complied with and appropriate actions taken if there is evidence to the contrary. So part of the ethical standard that the engagement partner must ensure that it takes place at the level of the engagement is ensuring that no staff in form of the team member on that engagement is not independent of the client. Don't forget that independence matters when we are talking about audit work. So auditors' independence must not be jeopardized. And if one among the team is not independent, then the whole team is not independent. So the engagement partner on the level of quality assurance procedure for engagement level of assurance must ensure that every member of the team understand that they must be independent, and if for any reason anything bother in their lives as to their independence concerning that particular engagement, they must report it to him and he must take action. That is what we are talking about when we say evidence to the contrary. Independence requirements are met, which may include identifying circumstances and relationships that might give rise to threats to independence. And a lot of relationships can arise in the course of business. But immediately an auditor could observe that this will border on issue independence, it must be addressed and reported to the engagement partner. Engagement partner also must assess the impact of the breach of the firm's independence policy and procedure and whether such breaches create a threat or not. That is, let's say for any reason a team member is not complying, the engagement partner must take a critical look at the policy of the overall organization, and where the person has run foul must know how to address it, and if he or she needs to pass it on, to the higher authority, he must do so. Also, taking suitable action to eliminate identified threats in form of, okay, a staff reports to him or her, the engagement partner, you can say EP, that, okay, I'm not so independent in this assignment for so and so reason. So the engagement partner has the authority and responsibility to rotate that particular member. That is, take him or her away from that team and repost the person concerned to another engagement. Procedures are in place to deal with acceptance of new engagement. This is another aspect of quality assurance in an accounting firm, as it borders on the level of engagement. How should we onboard a client, that is new client? Acceptance of new engagement. It must ensure that if it's a first-time engagement, every procedure that needs to be met are strictly adhered to from the onset, as it requires planning, execution, reporting, issuance of reports, and every other thing. And EP must be that knowledgeable. And the continuance of existing engagements. So there are some quality procedure as regards first-time audits and recurrent audits, which we can call continuance audit. The audit is carried out by an audit team with the appropriate competence and capability. That is, an EP must ensure that every member of the team have ability, competent enough to execute that assignment. And if at the planning stage, he or she noticed that there is a higher knowledge required to execute an aspect of client's work, let's say for maybe as a result of risk assessment carried out, they observe that, okay, there is a need for a person that is well grounded in this area to deal with this aspect. Probably the person is not among the team before. They need to redeploy the person. EP, engagement partner, must ensure that such person comes on that engagement to do it. The person may not from the onset be available. So you need to ensure the timeliness and promptness as at when the person will be available and bring him or her to the assignment. It's part of the responsibility, critical responsibility of the engagement partner. Okay? Appropriate management of engagement is in place, which may include the direction and supervision of staff. And this is an aspect. Supervision, especially on the field, is critical. Review of files, prompt reviews of files. All these must be done or must be planned for by the engagement partner. Who supervises whose work? Who directs? If there is a contending issue, as it could border on standard on the field, who should give or whose opinion should count? So all these are important to ensure that there will not be, or there will be minimal wastage of time on the field. That is, when the auditors, the team, goes out to execute the assignment. Adequate consultation has been put in place on difficult or contentious matter, and contentious matter actually will always arise in practice. That is, practitioners on the same team having different opinion as to what a standard said or the application of a standard, maybe IAS 16 and the like, and at the end of the day, they must come to a point that they all agree that, okay, let us do it this way because this is what is actually expected from us. So all this and many more are what are the responsibility of the engagement partner. Finally, an EP must ensure documentation are in place. Even on the contentious matter must be documented and how they resolve it. The conclusion reached must be documented. The scope of work done must be documented. So that means filing must be thoroughly done, well presented and documented. An EP may not be on the field, but all these standards must be taught, and it must ensure adherence to this. So all well said and done. But when we are talking about the audit of public limited liability company, as in the case of Nigeria, PLCs, or public interest audit, an EP engagement partner must also ensure, because the law specifically wants a review of the files. So because of that standard, he must ensure that quality control reviewer is proposed. That is, which organization will review that file before the issuance of the report. I'm talking precisely concerning PLC audit or public interest audit. So there must be an external review of work done. So engagement partner must ensure that the reviewer is planned for, and he or she must work closely with them. Of course, an EP is going to sign the report eventually, so he could not or she could not just neglect what the reviewer is doing, but they must work together. So after the external reviewer has been appointed, what is expected of the quality control reviewer? He or she or the firm must ensure that procedures in respect of the engagement quality control were followed. They must ensure that the quality of the report they want to issue out is as per the standard. Also, that the review was completed on or before the issuance of the report. So after the field work, the file must be reviewed by the engagement partner and also the reviewer, external reviewer, that is the quality control reviewer. And also the quality control reviewer must ensure that he is not aware of any unresolved matter on that file. And if there is any unresolved issue, as at the time that he or she is reviewing the file, must ensure that it's resolved, and the reviewer must sign his own part of work done. Okay, so we can summarize the work of the EP as this. It must be available, and EP must be available, whether he or she, to be discussed or to be discussed with and to discuss the file. Review the financial statement and propose audit reports. He must or she must review of selected audit documentation relating to the significant judgment, that is, some critical aspect of the file must not be neglected. An evaluation must take place by him or her of the conclusion reached and whether the proposed audit report is appropriate. And he must sign all these aspects of work that he or she had done. He must consider the engagement team's evaluation of the firm's independence in relation to the engagement. He must consider whether appropriate consultation has taken place on difficult and contentious matters. Just as I said, it will always arise. Contentious matter will always arise. Last but not the least, he must consider whether audit documentation selected for review reflect the work performed and the conclusion reached. Don't forget, our expression must be based strictly on evidence of work done. So the responsibility lies on the shoulder of the engagement partner to ensure that the documentation that we are having at hand will correspond and can back up our audit work and the expression of the opinion we are going to make. So let us now move on to the quality control at the firm's level. Don't forget, we started with the quality control procedure that must be in place in an accounting firm on engagement level. Now we want to talk about those quality that must be in place on the level of the firm, that is at the organizational level. And why do we assure this? It is important for our report to be appropriate. Incorrect expression of opinion will affect the public image of the organization and of the profession. And for this not to happen, professionals, we must ensure that we adhere to professional standards and applicable legal and regulatory bodies standard. Okay, so what are the areas now that as an accounting firm we must ensure that we have procedures in place for? And the responsibility of ensuring all these aspects are intact lies with the managing partner. Don't forget, we've been talking about the EP, engagement partner. Now we'll be talking about the MP. Like other businesses, they'll be talking of MD. We'll be talking of the MP, the managing partner now. So adherence to the firms and the standard at the organizational level or in accounting practice lies on the shoulder of the managing partner to ensure that leadership responsibility for quality is met, and he is the leader or she is the leader leading on that particular practice. So we must ensure that leadership at all levels are in place and leadership is doing fine in that organization. Should we call it community? Also, ethical requirements in form of international, local requirements, even policy within the accounting practice itself. So ethical requirements must be met, must ensure leadership, good leadership is in place, acceptance and continuance of engagement. It must ensure quality on the aspect of how do we onboard clients and how do we offboard clients, that is release clients from our engagements. Human resources also, it must ensure that people are well managed. But please note, when it comes to practice, we call HR aspects of work staff or staffing. So when you hear HR in accounting practice, you'll be hearing staff partner. So please note in the exam, if you hear staff partner, know that they are talking about the person in charge of HR, or you hear staff manager is the HR within the accounting practice. Also, the managing partner must ensure engagement performance, that is, quality of work delivered must be paramount to the MP, and it must ensure good delivery at all levels, at all different engagements and client service that we are rendering. Monitoring, it must ensure monitoring, quality control, review, partners meeting like the board of directors, board of partners meeting and the like. Monitor at all levels. Organizational structure must be in place. Organogram must be in place. And all these things, it must ensure that all these structures are in place. Documentation. We must ensure that standards are met as to documentation of our work, even as an organization. So when we are talking about the quality control within the accounting firm, we will be talking about the leadership. Control must be even from the leadership. We will talk about the aspects of ethical requirements must be met. We talk about the acceptance or disengagement or continuance of engagement. Human resources, control must be there too. Engagement performance or quality of work delivery, control must be there. Monitoring, control must be there. Last but not the least, control must exist concerning our work documentation, filing, and the like. International Standard on Quality Control, ISQC 1. In each of these areas that we've mentioned, we are going to consider them one by one now. Leadership, the responsibility for leadership and for quality. Like I said, when we are introducing, the managing partner has the overall responsibility for quality in an accounting firm. Any person who has operational responsibility for quality control should have appropriate experience and ability and the necessary authority. So, which he or she must have all this. He has the responsibility. He must have the experience to lead the organization. He must have the right authority, even to discipline the erring staff member. For ethical requirements, he must ensure compliance with relevant ethical requirements, IASs, IFRS, and other suitable criteria, like in Nigeria, CIMA and the like. We have CIMA 2020 now. The MP must ensure that we comply as an organization to it. Maintain independence where required to do so. Independence of the auditor is critical and he must drive this. Must communicate his independent requirements to staff. He must educate staff. He must train them to understand the requirements of the law of the accounting practice, what is expected of them. In fact, is the trainer in that organization. He or she must identify and evaluate circumstances and relationship which create threats. I think we dealt with this, so we need to move on from here. The policy and procedure should also include this in accounting firm. Staff to notify the firm of circumstances and relationship. that might create a threat. This is highly important, and there must be documentation for this. There must be training on this for staff to know that if there is any relationship that they are into, or most likely we go into in the nearest future, that may affect the independence of the organization, it must be reported. In no circumstance will it not be reported. They must know the importance of this. It must be communicated to them. Staff must notify them, and they must equally know the penalty for not voluntarily telling the management this information. The firm to communicate such breach to the engagement partner. That is, if the engagement partner is aware of this, he or she must communicate to the managing partner too. The engagement partner to advise the firm. So that is, if the engagement partner is aware of this, the matter is brought to him or her, must take a stand and pass the information on to the MP, the managing partner. Acceptance and continuance of engagement. This is another aspect of our operations that we must have quality, procedure, and adherence to. ISQC 1 requires the firm to establish policies and procedures to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm will only take on assignments or work where, number one, we are competent to do so. See, even though we are all accountants, we are all chartered, at a point we begin to specialize, and we must take on assignments in where our strength lies. There are some audit firms, they have much of clients in financial institutions. Some we go into another industry and say, okay, when it comes to audit of this industry, they are the best. So we must evaluate our competence and use it to serve in that aspect. So we could not take on every business opportunity that comes to us. If not, the delivery is going to be poor. So the managing partner must ensure that we only take on work or assignment or engagement in which we are capable, we have capability to deliver, we have competence to deliver. This does not reduce us that, okay, we could not do this assignment. We cannot do everything, but it's good for us to know our strengths and to capitalize on our strengths and leave what we cannot do well for others to engage on. We must have capability to do it and resources too. That is, resources in form of people, even in form of monetary, because money goes into audit work too. Also, we must ensure that we can comply with the relevant ethical requirements like deadline. The client may have regulators in the industry with given deadlines. So we must not onboard clients that we know, especially for the first timer, that will not be able to deliver and meet their deadline. So the managing partner must see to all these things, communicate to his partners, who communicate also to their team members. Also, we must ensure that he has considered the integrity of the client. That this is especially when we are talking about the first time audit. Who are the management staff of this new company that we want to take on? We must know them, their history, their background, to know whether they are people of integrity or not. Also, if there is, for any reason, they have previous auditor, this is part of our standard procedure to ensure we communicate and relate with our predecessor, the outgoing auditor, to know what has happened and advise whether we should take on this client and the like. It's part of our standard, and managing partner must ensure that every engagement has all these standards adhered to. The policy and procedures should include requiring the firm to obtain sufficient information to make such decision. That is about new clients. We must have sufficient information to decide whether we really want to work with them, audit them or not. In banking industry, when we want to open an account, they will give us a form. They say, know your customer, KYC form. So they want to familiar with us, know some things about us so that they can know whether we can bank with them or not. Likewise, we must ensure we know at least good information about our clients and their management, especially before we onboard them. We must consider potential conflict of interest. Maybe we have a partner that knows very well that organization or some key member there. We must know all this and adhere to all these independence issues that may arise when we are onboarding a new client. And it's the responsibility of managing partner, as we are talking now. Documentation or document all identified issues and how they were resolved. So it must ensure that in each file, the engagement partner documents every resolution taken. Don't forget, at the end of the day, if litigation comes, we are going to fall back on our evidence. So as a managing partner, you must ensure that all these working paper are actually well written, well stored and managed. It could be soft copy, it could be hard copy, but they are well maintained and well kept. So let us talk about the people aspect of accounting practice operations. That is the HR matter, which I call the staffing. So our standard, international standard on quality control. 1, it requires the firm to ensure that it has sufficient personnel with experience, capability, and commitment to ethical standard and principle on board. This is highly critical. So recruitment, selection, and the like must be thoroughly executed and ensure that people with capability are onboarded. Also, that each of the engagements have an engagement partner and a team on it. People must always be on a team, and a team must be led by an engagement partner in the accounting practice, who will be ably supported by the audit manager and the like, the supervisors, and down the hierarchy. So there must be HR policy, which managing partner must ensure that it's working and is effective to manage its organization. Work should be assigned to staff that are competent to work that work. Like I said, there may be need to redeploy a competent hand on a different engagement just to ensure that competence is maintained because of quality of work to be delivered. There should be procedure for ensuring that an audit team collectively has the appropriate level of technical knowledge for the audit engagement and includes individuals that have the knowledge and ability to weather the complexity in that client's assignment. Also have the ability to apply their professional judgments. That is, they must be knowledgeable enough to take decision as it relates to that particular assignment and engagement. So the quality assurance on the aspect of our performance, that is the engagement performance. This is another responsibility on the shoulder of the managing partner, and it's another area in which quality must be observed and maintained in an accounting practice. Policies and procedures are required concerning the engagement performance to include those to promote consistent quality engagement performance. Who will be on what assignment? Which training has he or she gotten? How many years of experience has the person on the team or persons on the team? How many years of experience do they have? All these questions must be answered. Who supervises who? All these things, they are important because on the field, so many issues can easily be addressed. But if we left the field and come back to the office, then we realize that certain things were not addressed on the field, which ordinarily is better addressed on the field. Then we observe lag in the delivery. The review responsibility, on whose shoulder will it lie or rest? We must ensure this too in order for our performance to be better. Because if a file is not well reviewed, there will be lag, there will be slack, and at the end of the day, the quality of report will be watered down, which will affect our engagement performance. Guidance. Who is leading? Who is giving guidance? Who can we consult on the field? Appropriate consultation must take place on difficult contentious matter. The nature, the scope, and the conclusion of consultation must be documented. All these things are important for our quality delivery. Guidance on engagement quality control review, like the public interest organization that I spoke about. If we are to audit a PLC, there must be all this level of review, and it is critical to the delivery of our work. Also, in an accounting firm, there must be monitoring, quality monitoring. Work must be monitored, and this is another aspect in quality procedure. So an organization, accounting practice precisely, must have at least a staff, experienced staff, that is going to be monitoring the quality of our work. The person must be saddled with the quality assurance responsibility. That is, after the work has been done and the team come back from the field, the person should pick the file and observe everything, that okay, everything meets the local standard, the international standard, even the firm's standard as to filing and the like. And if there is any deficiency found, he or she must like asterisk it or indicate it, communicate to the team manager and the like, which in turn move up and issues get resolved just to enhance the quality of our performance. The deficiency must be communicated to relevant personnel like the audit manager or the trainee in charge of that file, and from there must be ably assisted to resolve the deficiency. Appropriate remedial action must be taken, which can include action in relation to individual engagement or employee, communication of findings to those responsible for training and professional development, especially if we observe that there is a staff that is continually having deficiency on his or her file. Those people like that could be helped by continuous or repetitive training and the like professional development. Changes to the firm's quality control system too must be adhered to. So the personnel in charge of quality monitoring must ensure that, okay, any changes in our internal policy is adhered to. Also, disciplinary action is taken against offenders and the like. Procedures were omitted during the engagement. That is, if we find some procedures omitted during the engagement, we must ensure that such procedures are worked back into and are adhered to. The firm should determine what further action is needed. So when we monitor, we'll be able to observe all these and many more. The conclusion that we are even addressing on that file, the monitoring personnel must ensure that, okay, it has basis. The opinion that we are about to express has basis and is systemic. That is procedural. We follow our audit methodology in reaching that conclusion, not just haphazard. So it is in monitoring that we establish all this and put our files intact, our procedures intact, and we detect non-compliance quickly and rectify them. So if you enjoyed this video, please go and subscribe now. Click the notification button, like us. You can share and comment. Please go and